When it comes to figuring out how to be successful, you often have to figure out all the ways to not be successful.
All the lies you told me, burning time to hold me, scratch that you don't own me, reading people and faking it. When he called me back into his ride, feeling time like I'm his only, sitting way too close, alone inside, the walls be closing on me. In him I can't confide, even in my secrets can't confide. Any other person, but he is a burden, and I feel like cursing can't confide.
Startups fail for a whole lot of reasons. The obvious answer is they run out of money. While that is technically the top reason and the technical reason that startups fail, there are a whole variety of reasons why companies don't succeed. One of the most common reasons that startups fail is there's a lack of demand for the product that they sell, or it's just a poor product market fit.
Why do startups fail? I think one of the biggest reasons is because they tend to be solopreneurs, and they didn't realize that they were going to have to wear multiple hats. They thought they were good at their one craft, and they probably really are, but they weren't good at accounting, and they weren't good at advertising, and they weren't good at sales, and they weren't good at all these other pieces that they have to do on top of the work that they were already doing. So they get burnt out. They realize, this is not for me.
Another common reason that startups fail is the founders. Either they don't have the skill set that is needed to get the job done, or oftentimes they get in their own way. A recipe for failure is working under the assumption that everything at your new business is going to occur on time and in a way that you want it to. The reality is almost everything that you engage in at your startup is probably going to take twice as long to get done and cost 2 to 3 times more than you thought it might.
I think most startups fail because they're not well funded, or they're not great at managing money, or their work ethic sucks, or any number of reasons. The odds are against them. I honestly don't know how I ended up here some days. It's complicated.
Too many founders think it's going to be easy to get funded. And they think people are going to line up to write checks, make investments, and support what they're doing. And this assumption is really problematic.
I think there's 2 main reasons and about 1 million other reasons as to why a startup can fail. The 2 main reasons are, A, you do not solve your customer's problem well enough, or B, you do solve your customer's problem well enough, but you don't have the money nor the means or knowledge of how to market your product to your customers so they even know that you exist.
Do you know what a pivot is? Pivot's when you have to change directions and do something different. The inability to identify that the ship is headed towards the rocks and to turn it in a different direction is the death of a lot of businesses.
There are a lot of reasons that startups fail. I think the biggest reason for me is the fact that we get burnt out. Founders get burnt out. It's a lot of stuff to deal with. So I know that there are several founders I know who have just kind of cut ties. They decided that they were done because it's just really, really hard. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. Being a founder isn't for everyone.
Sales cures ails, baby. And if your business isn't making sales or you're not generating revenue, you're going to go out of business. Maybe not today, but eventually. And one of the biggest mistakes that founders make is waiting too long to try to figure out how to generate revenue, to try to determine and understand what customer acquisition costs look like, and to develop and evolve a marketing strategy. Too many founders, especially in the tech space, get so obsessed with the product that they're afraid to go out and sell stuff.
So I think failure is something that you definitely need to embrace. It's definitely a key to success. It's part of what you're going to do. You have to try things. You're in business because you see a need that needs to be filled, and you understand that there's a market for what you're doing. you just don't always know how to present that information or how to get that message out there or how to really take your product from A to Z. So you're going to try things and you're going to mess up. Every time you try something, you get one step closer to success. You need to become comfortable with failure.
I regularly fail at a lot of things. As a human being, as a founder, as a business owner, like if you put yourself out there and try new things, you are going to fail at some point. You just have to accept that as inevitable and use it as the tool to grow that you know that it is.
What I fail at regularly is I create content all the time, and I think sometimes it's going to be the greatest piece of content out there, and I put in so much time and effort, and then I post it and it gets like 5 likes. It's like crap, right?
I fail a lot at prioritizing the right things. I fail at like consistency. So I mean, I'm working all the time, but I fail at some of the habits that I know will make me more productive if I just stay close to them.
I end up spending way more time trying to help and deal with customers and work on the online side of our business that sometimes I forget to make my sales calls. I forget to go pound the pavement and knock down doors to try to get our wholesale market going.
Time management is probably my biggest weak point. Trying to run a business from home with 4 kids is hard.
I regularly fail at doing too much, meaning I try to bite off more than I can chew. I've gotten better at it over the years, but I've been really bad at it in the past.
When I first started podcasting, I sucked. I failed every single day. I didn't like the sound of my voice. My show didn't go very well. I didn't know what things were plugged in where. And every day that I went on, I saw it as a failure. But now, the practice has made all the difference in the world. I think that is where the successful entrepreneur perseveres, is they know that the failure is there and they hate it, but they're comfortable with doing it and going through it.
I used to fail at communication, I think, the most. I'm just a self-made person. A lot of stuff I got good at, I didn't need to communicate. I would just do the work. It's emails. Didn't need to rely on other people. But as I've gone to grow my business, I need to stop failing at that. So I think I'm a pretty good communicator now.
So I used to be not a very detail-oriented person, and I used to fail on a pretty regular basis as a result of that. And so over the course of my career, I have been able to really punch up I guess the way that I operate, because I've become a very tactical, very detail-oriented person.
As a leader of a company, you need to expect that your employees will fail, and it's probably good for them to fail. Now, that said, what level of tolerance should you have when it comes to failure in your organization? At my business, I expect those that work at it to make mistakes and to fail, and I have tolerance of that. Now, when that failure continues, especially for simple, avoidable things, I do start to ask questions that go with it. My level of patience decreases, especially with simple, basic errors. It makes me wonder on some level if you're capable of doing the job, if you care about doing the job, or if you're paying attention to the job that you're doing.
When an employee fails, I tend to look at that as, that's my bad. Like, yes, they messed up. Yes, they made a mistake. And sometimes it is totally their fault. But it is our responsibility as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, as business owners. It's our responsibility to make sure it goes correctly. So either maybe I didn't give clear instructions. Maybe what I thought I said wasn't what was received or what was interpreted. So, you gotta, in my opinion, as a leader, look at each failure as this is something that you can fix.
I think failure by an employee, there's obviously circumstances, but for me, that's the chance for me to show that no matter if they're perfect or not, I'm going to be there to support them. So sometimes it's not until they fail the very first time that I'm able to kind of come in. We get to talk about it, treat it as a learning lesson, show them that I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to fire them. I'm just going to teach them. And I think it empowers them to take more risks in the future.
So what do I do when an employee fails? I tend to address the issue, whatever that may be, with whoever it may be. We discuss a plan of action and how it should be handled moving forward. There's nothing you can do about something that's already happened. I mean, you can sit there and ream someone's ass for it, but that's not going to make them any more motivated to fix their problem or excel your business or yourself in any way.
Have you ever heard of the rule of yes? If you don't know me, you probably haven't. This is a concept that I created years ago for my own efficiency. And I tell all my employees to make decisions based on the rule of yes. So what is it? The rule of yes means if you think I'm going to say yes 90% of the time, don't ask, just do it. And I'll deal with the 10% of the time that you're wrong. As a leader, this can open up your schedule. This empowers your employees to make simple and basic decisions and not feel like they need to ask you. If they know you're going to say yes, what's the point of asking? Don't let the rule of yes get abused, but at the same time, when it comes to getting things done and empowering people to make decisions, it can be very, very effective, especially when you frame it up in a way that says, look, I don't expect you to be right every time. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. Just think about them before you make them. If you think it's something I'm agreeable to, do it. Let's move on.
What's my biggest failure? Well, I've got plenty, but I think the one that really resonates the most is having to close our store. That sucked. That was horrible. For so many different reasons. You know, when you start something and you put all your time and effort and money into something, you want to see it succeed. But having to shutter our doors sucked. And if we're being completely honest, COVID accelerated that, but we were headed in that direction anyways. Being able to pivot with COVID and pivot with a lot of other small business owners definitely made the blow a little less hard, but it was still there. And sucking up that pride and knowing that you unsuccessfully did something sucks.
I had a company called V3 Creative, and it was a marketing social media consultancy, and we actually started when social media was kind of in its infancy. I mean, we're talking about like the days of Zanga and LiveJournal and AOL chat rooms and stuff like that. And I absolutely failed at that. Just total train wreck. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to invoice clients. I didn't know how to make them pay. I just realized I had no fucking clue. And so, you know, my ego took a hit, my pride took a hit, but I learned a lot of lessons. And so when I was ready to start my next company, InnovateHer Creative, I was more prepared. And then when I started InnovateHer KC, I was even more prepared. And so it's just been this progression of preparation to get me to where I'm at now. I mean, in 20 years, I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like, look at right now, and I'm going to say to myself, you little baby, you knew nothing.
All right, let me give you the story. So James and I started this computer repair company called PC Cruisers. And I had no idea. I didn't know a thing about computer repair. James was the tech guy. We built the business basically around him. He ended up getting brokenhearted, joined the Navy, and bounced on me. And I had this business now with 3 employees. We had jobs coming in every single day. I had no idea what I was doing. I was spending most of my time partying really and playing video games, not really paying attention to the business. When I went to shut it down, I had realized all kinds of things. I had signed long-term leases, personally signed for long-term leases, long-term marketing contracts, long-term rentals on equipment, and I thought I had done it all under the corporation, but young, dumb, naive, ignorant, I ended up having all kinds of personal debt because of this first venture that I ever went on. And I ended up going broke, and that, though, the process of going broke and trying to get out of leases or eventually ending up filing for bankruptcy, all these other things. That was the best financial education, the best business education I ever had.
I was doing private label products early on with some money I'd saved. I'd saved like $5,000. I had went in on one product from like Alibaba, sourced it myself, flipped that, made money. Then I did 3 products. Then I did 4 products. And I basically, it was like in the early days of Amazon, and you would do these giveaways on these sites where you would like discount the item to like $5, and people would get it for $5. Buy it, it gets you, you know, your momentum going on the items. And made a mistake. And instead of saying that someone could only redeem one of them, I left it open-ended with the coupon code. And so people from the site used the coupon code and bought up all of my inventory. And yeah, I was basically in the profit. So overnight I lost all of my inventory. It really set me back from trying to do products myself and really just stick to the services.
Overall, failure is part of the game. And when I talk to young entrepreneurs, I really try to reinforce the fact that just because you failed doesn't mean that people see you as a failure. In fact, as an investor, I would rather invest in founders that had seen failure. The reason for that is you learn from it. You learn humility. You learn from the mistakes that you made, and you also don't walk around with a bulletproof attitude. Someone that's never failed takes bigger risks and more chances, and they're often not smart risks. They just believe that everything they do isn't going to fail until they learn that that isn't the case. So overall, failure is something you learn from, something you hopefully grow from in order to avoid it down the road.
Any other person, but he is a burden, and I feel like cursing, can't confide.